Hey guys, how is everyone doing? I hope everyone is having a great month. Super excited to get into this video today. Been wanting to do a Q&A for a while, so I think it's going to be really good to get into this. I did a poll on Instagram asking people to send in questions, and thank you to you guys. Got so many good questions that I'm going to dive into today, and a couple of questions that I haven't really talked about at any time on social media before. Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to dive into that. So we've got a few detailed questions that I want to throw into there that I can expand on and go into more detail with. And then I want to do some quick fire questions towards the end that I tend to get quite a lot of questions on these. So yeah, super excited. Let's get into this. So to kick things off, let's get into the first question. So first question, what were you doing before you started trading? So great question. And we're taking a little bit of a trip down memory lane here. So from the ages of 14 or 15 onwards, I think it was, my two biggest passions at the time was both snooker and carp fishing. So I absolutely loved both. I was competing in those both industries at the time. Competitions all the time, mainly snooker. Fishing was more sort of an annual thing, which I'll get into a little bit later. And competing in snooker a lot, I was travelling pretty much, I don't want to say every weekend, but mainly on the weekends. Staying over and travelling around the UK, just competing, trying to get my ranking points up and stuff like that as an amateur junior. Really just trying to make my way up the ladder, if that makes sense. So I was competing in a lot of events and stuff like that, practicing with great players. So yeah, that was my goal at the time, was to become a professional snooker player and compete on the pro circuit and just make my way up the ladder that way. That's something that I really wanted to do at the time. But at the time, I think I was just turning 19. I was introduced to trading, start to develop a passion for trading as well. Funnily enough, it was for a YouTube I remember. Downloaded Trading 212, started trading gold for a little bit on demo. And then of course opened a live account, started learning, just really developed a fascination for the charts and really wanted to sort of master the charts in a way. And I just really started to envision my life going down the trading route, in terms of, I really saw that, it wasn't clear, nothing was clear at the time, but I just knew that was the right path for me. It's sort of a gut feeling that you can't really explain to someone, but if you've had that for yourself, and you have this deep gut feeling, this deep fire that you want to go down a certain route, that's what I had at the time. So I couldn't really explain that at the time. You can imagine 18, 19 years old, not really knowing how to put that into words to anyone or describe to anyone how that felt, but really wanted to go down the trading route, so I did. I think I was juggling trading, snooker and 9 to 5 in college for probably 6 months, which was quite tough to be fair. Taught me a lot, so I was juggling all those for a while, dropped out of college, continued the 9 to 5, and just really saw myself going down the trading route, so that's the route I did. And yeah, super grateful for that now looking back. I see snooker as sort of a stepping stone. It taught me a lot about work ethic and discipline and so many things. You can imagine I was getting up early, like things like getting up early and discipline and stuff like that. It taught me a lot. I was getting up at 5, half 5 every single day, 5-6 days a week, catching a bus to the city centre, catching another bus, so it's probably taking me an hour and a half to get there. I was getting into the club for 8:30, 9ish, brushing 15 tables, practicing for 6, 7, 8 hours a day. So that's what really established my work ethic now, and I'm super grateful for that. In terms of the discipline, I was doing it every single day consistently, so that's where the discipline comes from that I have now. So very, very grateful for that. So as I mentioned before, I think I was 18, 19 at this time, just getting into personal development, reading books, audiobooks, diving into things like that, and just really starting to find myself. I thought I was lost at the time, especially when I was coming out of snooker, but looking back, you're just early in the process, right? Like Gary Vee says all the time, you're not lost, you're just early in the process, and that's what I was looking back. I was 18, 19, super young, so super early in the process, and started to develop a new dream for trading, and just the whole vision that came with it. I saw myself going down a different route, and that's the route I'm taking right now. Which I'm super grateful for, because nothing was clear back then to anyone else, and I don't think people talk about this, but having this develops into my later question as well, but having no one believing you in the beginning is super hard, and I think it's something that no one really talks about. So hard. Definitely, especially if the people closest to you don't believe in you at the start, but it's natural. Like, as long as you're the only person that believes in your vision and when you want to take things longer term, that's really all that matters, because then you can scale that and work on it. You know, I was doing that for a long time. I was working a 9 to 5, coming home 6, 7 p.m. at night, and then working like 3, 4, 5 hours a day. It's on my trading, trying to develop that. So you can really do anything if you put your mind to it. And I know that sounds cliche, but you just really can. You just got to follow your dreams and follow your goals. That's the biggest thing. So that was my story with snooker. With carp fishing, it was more of a hobby at the time. I still absolutely loved it. I was doing it all the time. Yeah, even going back to school, I was doing it after school all the time and things like that, after college, and yeah, absolutely loved it. So me and my brother used to go all the time fishing with a few friends and stuff like that, and we entered into the British Junior Championships in 2012, 2013 and 2014, I think. I managed to win it in the 2014, which was a big bonus. Got so many good memories and met so many good people through that. I'll post some pictures up here, and yeah, just so many good memories from that. Taught me a lot about everything, and yeah, something I look back on, and I'm just grateful for that experience. So moving on to the next question. So this is a great question. Did you ever make a decision to chase your goals, or is it something that happened naturally over time? So really great question. I want to say both. So back in high school, I always envisioned myself going a different route from the traditional route. Yeah, never really saw myself going down the corporate traditional route longer term. Happy to do it short term, 100%. Everyone starts from somewhere, right? You have to start from somewhere. So I was happy to do that short term, but longer term, I just wanted to do something different. I just had this bigger vision for myself. I didn't know what it was at the time, but I wanted to go a different route and really be successful in something, in a field. And looking back, it's apparent that, because I was always searching for a skill. I remember growing up, like going back to snooker and fishing, like I was always searching for that one skill that I could master that would set me free. And I used to play tennis before that as well. So a few things growing up that make sense now that didn't really make sense at the time. And yeah, just super grateful for that. At least blessings in disguise, and I learned so much about myself and about life through those. But yeah, never really saw myself going down the corporate route longer term. Getting into the next question, great question again. Biggest challenge within your Forex trading journey? Pretty good question. There's been a few. I think the biggest one early on is just having, I don't want to say no support, but having no real people to support your vision and where you want to take things. That was hard for me. That was really hard. I went through a period of probably 6 to 12 months of just, I don't want to say alone, because I was around people all the time, but just being alone in my head a lot and just really focused on where I wanted to take things and just blocking off all the negativity and stuff like that. I just really wanted to do me and just do my vision and work on that. But having no real support from the beginning, especially when it's close friends and family and things like that. It's not necessarily that they don't support you, it's just they don't understand the vision and where it can take you and stuff like that. So that was super hard. I went through a lonely period of 6-12 months of just, you see this office, right? I was pretty much just in here all the time, just working on my trading. And this was beginning stages. This was just before I joined Falcon and getting into Falcon and stuff like that. So it was a tough time for me. Definitely learned a lot, but I think the good thing looking back was that I'd already been accustomed to, like having no support and like haters and stuff like that from the snooker days. So always take that forward. I learned a lot of lessons from the snooker side of things. I had a lot of haters and stuff like that. So always used to bring that motivation and that fire forward with me. So I knew how to deal with it to a certain extent. So that's one good thing about it looking back. But I'd say that was one of the hardest things for me about my trading journey so far. Still early in the process, still not mastered it or anything like that, but looking back on the first 2 years of my journey, that was definitely one of the hardest things for me. So moving on to the next question. This is a good question as well, and the question is, what is something you would tell someone just starting out in trading? Another great question. So for me, I would say, looking back on my journey that I've been through so far, it would just to be enjoy the process. So what I mean by that is, when I first got into trading, I wanted to set deadlines on everything. I wanted to set deadlines on becoming consistent and things like quit my 9 to 5. And yeah, I remember going into work all the time, and there used to be a big calendar in the office, and I just used to be like, right, on that day I'm going to quit my job, and that day it come around, and then I want to be ready in terms of results or anything like that. And it was, you kind of feel like you've failed in a way, but it's not, you just haven't failed. The most important thing you can do is measure the progression. And this is something that we talk about in Falcon all the time, like measure the progression rather than be so strict with deadlines. Super important, and I know from personal experience I used to get caught up in that a lot. Not a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing to set deadlines and have dates in mind of quitting your job and whatever you want to achieve. Definitely gave me a fire to work towards that. But I think you've just got to, it's about self-awareness and understanding, okay, I need to measure the progression more than the emphasis I put on the actual deadline. I think that's super important. What I mean by enjoying the process is little things that you do daily, like just enjoy the whole journey, the routine you do daily, the structure, the forming good habits, the planning ahead of trades, the backtesting sessions long at night, the little things like that you just do daily that make up the journey, that and the little breakthroughs as well. Like you'll have so many little breakthroughs, and again, I'm still early in the process myself, but I always look back and I'm like, I had so many little breakthroughs. But you just got to look back on those little breakthroughs as the big breakthroughs, because it really is. Because I haven't found that there's been one big breakthrough. It's been a course of so many little ones over and over again. Those 1% tweaks day in, day out, right? Those make the biggest differences. So I'd just say enjoy the process, and just really enjoy the present moment. Have a vision of where you want to go, but just enjoy the journey. Enjoy the journey. So the final question of these detailed questions is, what is your why? So another good question. All 5 of these questions have been really good. So my why: short to medium term, financial freedom. Being able to work wherever I want, whenever I want, without having such a strict schedule to stick to or anything like that. And honestly, being a rock to the people around me, that if they need anything, that they can rely on me to, whether that's in terms of support, guidance, anything like that, whether it's financially. I want to be that person. I want to be able to support my family and friends if they need it, and just the little things like that, like taking care of your family is like the biggest thing. It's the little thing, but means the most, right? None of these materialistic things mean the most to you when you really think about it. When you think about life in detail, like, it means nothing. Like, it's not to say I don't want those things, I do, but at the same time, it doesn't mean a lot. Like, that doesn't mean anything. It's the people closest to you that means the most. Biggest thing. In terms of longer term, what is my longer term why? Impact, legacy. Like, it sounds cliche, but leaving the world in a better place than what I've found it in. I've always envisioned myself wanting to impact as many people as possible, and that's something that I really try and do. Getting back to story time, I feel like I've done story time a few times today, but I always remember this one time when I was 15, 16 years old. I think we'd gone out as a family to celebrate a birthday or something like that. It's like 5 minutes drive down the road to a restaurant. Turned out to be about 45 minutes walk, and I didn't really realise at the time. And for whatever reason at the time, I just decided to get some fresh air, actually walk home rather than go in the car. And it was late afternoon, it was getting dark at the time, and I just remember thinking as I was walking home, like, I really want to impact as many people as possible. And it's just something that I kept repeating to myself over and over again as the journey's gone on over the past 3 years. Like, I really want to impact and give back to as many people as possible, and just really build a legacy. It's something that's super important to me, and I think I'll always carry that longer term, so that's something I have in mind. The reason I think this is important is I always come back to one thought, and it's, okay, when you're 80, when you're 90, when you're 100 years old, and you're looking on your life, and you can't do the things that you once could, how do you want to remember your life? Do you want to leave an impact? Do you want to leave a legacy? Like, that's something that always drives me longer term. It kind of scares me in a way, that life is that way, but at the same time it gives me so much fire, and I want to, that's really something that it just means a lot to me. Always envision that of being 80, 90, 100 years old and just looking back on life and like really thinking about what you want to achieve and what you want to do. Yeah, something super important to me. So in terms of longer term why, that's my why. So I hope you've enjoyed those detailed questions. Thank you for sending those really good questions in. Super interesting to dive into that. I've never really spoken about some of those things on social media, and obviously video you can just expand on a few more things, so grateful for that. Now what I want to do is dive into a few quick fire questions. These are questions that I do get quite a lot on messages and things like that, so it's going to be good to go over this as well. So firstly, where do you learn to trade? So Falcon FX, so Falcon Trading Guidance, definitely check them on social media. Learned so much, and we just look at the markets in a totally, completely different way. Check out their YouTube as well, so much value dropped. Second question, what trading platform do you use? So I use something called TradingView. Super easy to use, super simple, super clean, and it doesn't cost much either, so it's really good from all aspects. Third question, what broker do you use? So I'm currently using Oanda, experimenting with a couple, but mainly using Oanda at the moment. Favorite indicator? Price action. Price action. I don't use indicators anymore. Used to use it when I first started out, like EMAs, 50 EMA, like MACD, RSI, all those things, but don't use any of that anymore. Just pure market structure, price action, and I absolutely love it. One word you want to live your life by? Again, impact. What I was talking about before with my long-term why? Impact, 100%. So that is it for the questions. I really appreciate everyone who sent in the questions. If you didn't get your question answered, I'm going to do so many more Q&As in the future, so I wouldn't worry at all. And if I did miss anything, shoot me a message on Instagram or comment below, and I'll just try and get back to you over personal message and things like that. So yeah, it was a really good Q&A. I think I expanded on a lot of things that I've never talked about before, and yeah, it's been really good to dive into a few things and into a few subjects, and yeah, it's going to be good to look back on videos like this in the future. So thank you for the questions, and hope everyone's had a great month, and let's get ready for May. So yeah, hope everyone's had a great month, and I'll catch you in the next video. Speak to you all soon.